Hey guys, what is going on? I am Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today the topic I want to get into is this. I want to talk about the Jets' toughest decisions that they have to make for their 53-man roster. There's a few things that stand out to me that I think are worthwhile to at least talk through why they might be a little bit on the challenging side. So where I want to start is wide receiver. The Jets have 5 wide receivers that they are no doubt going to keep, which is Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, and Mecole Hardman. Those 5. Now, with the 53-man roster, you could get creative to get guys in at other positions and carry however many guys you want to carry. Could the Jets theoretically just say, you know what? We're only going to carry 5 wide receivers. We know the fan base and pundits and everyone's been debating and arguing to an extent over which wide receiver should be wide receiver 6. Is it Jason Brownlee, Malik Taylor, Xavier Gibson? Which one is it? Well, actually, none of them are going to make the roster. They're only going to carry 5. It's possible. I think that they would prefer to carry 6 wide receivers, but again, when you have to narrow a team of close to 90 right now down to 53, you're going to have to make some difficult decisions and probably carry guys or let guys go, that you would rather keep. And that's something that we're going to talk about here. If you only carry those 5, then you're saying goodbye to Xavier Gibson, Jason Brownlee, and Malik Taylor on the 53-man roster. Or if you want to carry 6, you're saying goodbye to 2 of those 3. And with Xavier Gibson, you can make the case that it should be him because of his return abilities. He's flashed and been explosive in the return game. He has also dropped 2 punts so far in the preseason, so you have to take that into the equation as well. But his return ability and potentially being a developmental slot receiver, is it worthwhile to keep him on the roster for that? Jason Brownlee's flashed a ton in OTAs and training camp, and he finally had a really solid game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, having 50 receiving yards on 4 catches. And he's a big receiver, a big body receiver, so maybe they want to have him as the Corey Davis, Allen Lazard kind of replacement for a couple years down the line. And then you have Malik Taylor, who has the Aaron Rodgers connection. So you can make a case for any of those 3, and I won't necessarily disagree with you. I think you could make a strong case for each one of those guys, and then you could also make a case that they shouldn't carry any of those 3 and just only carry 5 receivers because of other areas. Vis-a-vis the fullback, they're carrying a fullback for the first time in forever. Maybe that means you can't carry 6 or 7 receivers. You can only carry 5. But again, that's an interesting thing that you have to look at here when building out this roster is how many receivers are you going to carry? Is it 5 or is it 6? And if it is 6, which one of those 3 is it going to be? The next thing on my list is, do the Jets keep 4 tight ends? Right now, they have Jeremy Ruckert, CJ Uzama, Tyler Conklin. Those 3 are definites. Those 3 are locks. Now, many would pencil in Zach Kuntz. You used the 7th round draft pick on him. He's a developmental guy, and they're worried that if you try to practice squad him, someone will claim him because there are a lot of bad rosters in the NFL. I don't think Zach Kuntz helps the New York Jets in 2023. I don't think he is ready to play in the NFL. He hasn't really done a whole lot in training camp in the preseason. Yes, he had a touchdown late against the Carolina Panthers in their dominant, 27-0 victory. So that was nice to see, but he hasn't really done it consistently. I personally don't think, based on what we've seen so far in training camp and in the preseason games, that he has earned a roster spot. The only reason why I think they would keep him around is for what I referenced earlier, where they are fearing losing him and they don't want to just light a draft pick on fire, even though it's a 7th round pick and a dart throw. I would not be upset if the New York Jets try to stash him on the practice squad and he gets claimed somewhere else. I mean, sure, it would stink a little bit losing him, but I'm not going to say you wasted a 7th round pick. You took a flyer on a guy who you thought maybe you would be able to, keep around and or stash on the practice squad. It was a late day 3 pick. Again, if he's not going to help you in 2023, can you make the case that it's not worth it? Again, if you want to carry other, a surplus at other positions, they're going to carry close to 10 offensive linemen. They're going to carry 10 defensive linemen. There's only so many spots to go around. And that might be one of them where, originally you thought, okay, they're probably going to keep 4 tight ends. Maybe it's 3. Maybe it's 3 so that they can keep a little bit extra somewhere else. And the last thing is in the safety position, right? So I think there's a competition really between 2 guys. I think it would be difficult to keep both. But again, that kind of goes back to how do the cards lay and how do they come out? How does it shuffle and all that? Trey Dean versus Ashton Davis for the last safety spot, because there's 3 or really 4 unless Jarek Bernard-Converse is starting on the PUP list or injured reserve. Then maybe that throws a shuffle and you are able to keep both. But the case for Trey Dean or Ashton Davis. For Dean, he's had 18 tackles so far in the preseason. He's really looked promising as a UDFA. He was someone who probably could have went drafted, which is what people were saying about Tony Adams last year. And now Tony Adams hasn't taken a snap in a preseason game because he is locked in as a starter at safety. It's crazy, but he deserves it because he's played really, really well. So good for him. But do you want to keep Trey Dean, who's looked really, really good, or do you want to keep what you have in Ashton Davis? He played really good against the Bucks. He had a very, very good game, was coming down to the line of scrimmage, making plays. He's a very good special teamer, that. But this is also the 4th year with him here. Like, he is what he is at this point. I think he's proven that through, 4 years in the league, where Dean's still a little bit of an unknown. And maybe you'll say, okay, we'll take Dean. He might not be as good of a special teamer right now, even though he did make a nice play on specials against Tampa Bay a couple of days ago. But we like the upside of him as a regular safety, so we are willing to take that risk. Again, it is a risk, and there is no correct answer for this or any of the other options I just laid out. Like, these are the difficult things that I think the New York Jets, Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, Ulbrich, Nathaniel Hackett, all those guys are going to have to talk through and figure out what their plan is or what they want to do with this roster. Because like last year, the Jets let a lot of people go and they had a lot of people get claimed. Jason Pinnock is the one that's going to get a ton of the recognition for it because, he was starting playoff games for the New York Giants last year. He's been really good in training camp in the preseason again this year. And the Jets, they tried to get cute. They thought they'd be able to get him on the practice squad, and he gets claimed. And, you go, well, they have Tony Adams now, so why are you worried about that? They could have had both. You didn't have to keep Will Parks, and maybe some of that's revisionist history, but even at the time, that one seemed to be a head scratcher because of how, evident they were that they liked the transition that Pinnock was making from corner to safety. So again, this is not going to be an easy thing to get it down to 53. And that's one of the things, or I guess 3 of the things, the questions that I'm asking is the wide receiver room. How many tight ends do they carry? And the safety room, is it Ashton Davis versus Trey Dean? And would you want to take that swing on Dean because of what he's shown you so far in the preseason? It's not going to be easy. We know like most of the starting roles, right? And most of this roster I feel like is figured out, but the final few guys, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy to get this thing down to 53. So I am so curious what Joe Douglas and this Jets regime, what they decide to do here, because I think there's certainly some questions, but I want to hear from you. What are some of your toughest decisions that you think the Jets have to make with the 53? Your take on any of the scenarios that I laid out. Do you think the Jets carry just 5 receivers? Should they carry 6? Which one should be the 6? Do they keep 4 tight ends? Is it Ashton Davis versus Trey Dean? Anything else with the roster? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.